Welcome back. I hope you're fine. We are going to be talking today about killers of young marriage. I started this 2 weeks ago. The network was terrible, so I think it didn't come out too clearly. But you're going to be talking about some of the very common. In fact, it runs through most marriages. In fact, if not all marriages. And usually they have the potential of killing young marriages. At least I know of 2 marriages which are broken because of some of these reasons, even before the marriage hit a decade. So just come with me and let's go. Before you continue, please share this video. Share this video. You might bless someone. So let's just face it, okay? Marriage, to me, every marriage that you've ever visited, wedding be a who say that marriage is headed for the rocks. Our Arabia and our Arabia is likely to break along the way. Every marriage. And some of the reasons are testament to the fact, say, marriage is headed for the rocks. It takes 2 people who really want to commit to each other to remain married and stay married. I think the reasons that causes marriages to break in the early parts or the early stages of any marriage, or which challenge marriages anchor to the point of breaking, backgrounds, where the person comes from, how they were trained. 2, temperaments. 3, deferred expectations. Expectations be not here in Zanga. 4, sudden surprises. It happens. Marriage be on one. Without provocation. Certain things happen, and then when they happen, both parties cannot handle the pressure. Then it splits the marriage. And then the next one is external influences. This one there, we can't even begin to talk much. It is true. Then the final one, in my own estimation, unfaithfulness. This, to me, and I'm saying this based on experience. I'm not a certified marriage counselor, but I've been married for some time, at least a decade and over. And I have heard people's situations. I've witnessed people's situations. And through observation, I can tell you for a fact that these are the things that causes your marriage to break. And I'm going to take it from the start. Backgrounds. When I say backgrounds, I'm talking about a person's orientations, where the person picked up their ideology for life, and also marriage. That one has a serious impact on the longevity of a marriage. Let me give you an example. This is something that happened in my presence. I witnessed it, okay? I come from a all right? So before I got married, I was privy to a lot of marriage issues. And now this particular young couple, they like every morning they would come to the house, the mission house. That's making it happened in Kumasi. And then the man would be so agitated, and then you'd hear them talking loud, like so talking on the top of their voice. So it continued for a while. For a week, they kept coming every morning. So I gathered when maybe some mommy said, those people know. At the time, I was fresh. When they started coming to the house, I was married. I think I was in the first year or so of marriage. And I was having my own challenges with background issues. So I asked my mom, what exactly is going on? And she wasn't forthcoming, but later on she spilled. Apparently, the man comes from a home where women wait on men. Women naturally take care of their men. That's where in his home, that was what he's privy to. And so when they got married, he was expecting his wife naturally to take care of him, to be hands-on with him. But the woman wasn't doing that. And this was the reason. His wife was an only child to her mother. And the mother was a single mother. The father left them. And then Mamina was very industrious and resourceful. So she had property. She had businesses in Kumasi. And so in one of her properties, like a gated community, a big compound. The lady has given one building to her daughter. And that's where the girl has been. She has maids at her beck and call. Before she gets up, her house is cleaned by these people. Her food is taken care of. Her clothes are laundered nicely. So when they got married, it was just prudent that they came to stay in that lady's house, her own house, where her mother was. And all her hands were also there. So in the morning, the man says in the morning, when the lady wakes up, she doesn't sweep, she doesn't clean, she doesn't do anything. She just wakes up, dresses up. She doesn't even bath her child though. The maids in the house, the hands in the house, took care of all those things. They bathed the child before they got up. Breakfast was ready. Their clothes were laundered. The house was cleaned. Everything. And the man was like, "No, that's not what you want. That's not what he's used to. That is not it. That's not where it comes from. The insanity. He wants his wife to the point that sometimes he sees people, the maids washing his underwears, drying them. He cannot take it. That's where he comes from. Where he comes from, his orientation said that wives tend to their husbands. The lady comes from a certain orientation where these things can be taken care of by other people. And he didn't understand why the wife still didn't get the idea. So she had to take care of him. So, or the best of all, not they are called marriage counselor, not they are called whoever would listen to talk sense into the woman. And the woman was like, "I don't get you. These things are done. Why do you have a problem with another?" The guy was like, "I want my wife to handle my things." This thing went on for, as far as I'm concerned, for months. One time, then the lady came and told my parents that she can't marry again. She's done. She took a child and told the man to leave her compound and go and find a woman who is ready to do all that he is used to for him. The man thought the woman was joking. She wasn't joking. Their marriage collapsed and their baby was just 2 years old. It happens. There's this other story of a friend of mine. The husband, was sort of like the Busiapeli Wabobrak. They were Ivorians. But the man is quite grounded. So he came to Ghana, found a place a big compound, a very big structure. My friend and team. Now what happens is that sometimes when people are coming from Ivory Coast, most of the time they came to lodge there. Even people who wanted to transition from Ivory Coast to Ghana, they came to lodge in their place until they found their footing. And they left. I think initially the lady wasn't bothered. But then with time, or say that it was getting too much to the point where people came so much to the man's house. Their private space was encroached upon to the point where sometimes the older visitors, those who were elderly, they asked the man to take his family from the bedroom so that Onum Penifon can stay in the bedroom. No, they should sleep in the hall with their baby. Before the woman was doing it, she was submissive and cooperative. But then after a while, she told me, "Kay, this is your husband. He wants to turn me into an old woman. I am not used to that. My house is just me and my father and my siblings. And there was space. My father made sure that he kept his boundaries. This man is turning me into an old woman. And you should come and see how they are in our space, in our mat. I can't take it." And the man wasn't seeing anything wrong with it because that's how it is done in his home. That's how he was brought up. There was this extended influence. Family members were everywhere and you extended help here and there to everybody. And the lady couldn't take it. In fact, she said she told the man to go for a place for them. Leave the house for the family members. When it was time, he would come and see them, but almost space it. The man said he won't do it. He should learn to cooperate with his family members. The lady was like, "It's not like I'm not cooperating with family members. I just want space for us." The man said no. The next thing I knew, the lady had gone to rent an apartment for herself and her baby, hoping say, "Can you no baba fee?" The man didn't come. And the man was also expecting the woman to come home. The woman didn't go home. Guess what? The marriage is over. The lady has remarried, and she has a son. Where we come from, our orientations bear so much on the marriages that we go into. There was this other lady, a friend of mine is a man. Also, her wife was too incorporating of her own family members, so much so that she wants her family members in their marriage. She would go and tell them. They literally knew everything that was going on in their marriage, and the guy wasn't comfortable with it. So she came and told me, "Kay, I can't do it." He left the woman. He just left the woman. There's this other man who says his wife is loud. Also, the woman is loud. The woman is too loud. Why? Eventually, apparently, they're all very loud people. And the man says, it's not even loud as in talking to him loud. She's loud outside, goes outside. She's loud out there, fights all over the place and he can't take it. Orientation, where you come from. If you go for a man, a man who is not hands-on with things, like helping you around the house, you will suffer. You will suffer, and some people cannot take it. If you go for a woman who is overly pampered in their home, you feel the pinch, because if you aren't pampered in the house, you can't give her the attention that she so craves and desires and is used to. And it's going to cause problems. Where you say, And anybody who comes and gives us her daji, she may fall for that person. Esida. So where we come from, no, me say me worry, no, it was a huge problem. My husband comes from a place where he came from a palace, and there was a set way of doing things. There was an appropriate way of doing things. Yenema say, Memfa went to her. You say, Kasa say, you say, I wasn't brought up in a house like that. In my house, we were very liberal, and it was war. Because whereas he thought he was being prim and proper in bringing up a home, I saw it to be stifling. Because that's not how I was brought up. And it took a lot of growing up on his part and on my part to realize that we are two different people coming from two different places with two different orientation, two different idiosyncrasies, and we are coming to make to form our own individual identity. And it takes a lot of compromises, a lot of compromising, a lot of adjustments. At some point I was tired. I told him I'm going home. I cannot deal with all this brah, me to me. At some point he told me, so was saying, why don't you understand? I'm saying, but the things that you've held on to so much, and how do they affect our marriage? They don't affect our lives in any way. Simply because that's how you are brought up. No? You think that's how it's supposed to be, but it's not always the best. It's not always right. Because maybe you share me, no, and I will share your spouse. Your spouse might have been 25 years, 26 years, 30 years before you met them, and they have left with their own orientations for 25, 26, 27 years. It's not possible. So what do? You adjust. Adjustment is making room for things that otherwise are not supposed to be there, but you make room, accommodate certain oddities so that you can move on together in peace. I don't know if you have any examples, you can put them down here. And some of these things I'm saying, they are practices and they're not principles, but they are culturally constructed. Some of these things, some of the things that cause marriages are culturally constructed. They are not principles, they are practices. And people hold on to it so much because that is how they were brought up. Well, your marriage is not your father's house. Your marriage is not your mother's house. It is your house. And you're trying to create your own identity that is synonymous to the two of you. And it takes a lot of compromising and adjustment. Throw certain things away. I am one piece. Anything that destabilizes the balance of the equilibrium of your sanity, throw them away, put them somewhere. And try to incorporate things that works for the two of you. So one time I remember when we were in that phase, my husband would go like, in my house, I'm even surprised. You don't do this in my house. My mother will never do that. And I told him, my father will never also do some of the things you do. I think when I once told him that, he kind of roused, got shook. Then he was like, okay, fine. Then he said, this is your father's house. I said, this is not your mother's house either. Then we had a lengthy chat. We sat down, we had a long conversation. This is how we want our life to be. This is what I know. I've known this all my life. I've been told this all my life. This is how it has been for me. It has worked for me all these years. But for the peace and sanity of our house, and for that identity that you want to create for this family, let's try and meet each other halfway. A certain guy was saying that educated man, a very educated man, saying that what he fancies in a woman is that on Saturdays, when we are doing cleanups in the house, usually on Saturdays people do major cleanups in their homes. What he wants to see is when a woman ties a wrapper around her chest, right? And then she's scrubbing and washing and cleaning. It entices him. Graduates who will marry a graduate, which graduate would behave like that? These days that you have bum shorts, people wear if your wife in the morning, very early in the morning on Saturdays, wears a bum short and a tank top, and she's cleaning the house, a man like that will find a problem with that. And a woman like that will also find a problem with a man with that kind of backward thinking. Sebi. And it's going to cause a problem. It will take a lot of adjusting and compromising for them to meet each other halfway. Your orientation, your idiosyncrasies, they have defined your outlook of life. And they will tell on how your house even looks like. Yes. So sometimes some people's family members visit their homes and they go like, hey, once you sell papa. Hey, once you do kuna sell papa. So you say, you know, that place is not their family house, that is their own house. And they do things that help their sanity. And that is why it is very important that you don't hide things from your significant other in the dating phase. Where you are, how you are, let them know how you were brought up. In fact, my husband told me something when we were dating. And in my head, I knew that we would fight. I knew that when we marry, it's going to cause problems. Because I don't know how I can do it. And I won't do it. And truly and honestly, it caused problems. Until we sat down and had a discussion as to how to go about finding peace around a situation. So yeah, this is one of the reasons young marriages break. It can be so severe. If you come from a man who okasa, you marry a man of baby okasa or bankabi, it can be so severe that some women will pack up and leave. Some men in their background is such that they are financially irresponsible. They just spend money anyhow. They don't think about they're not future oriented. They're just end. Some men are like that, brought up like that. If you marry a man like that, if you marry a woman on you know that you're going. I know of a friend whose fiancé was in fact, the mother of the guy told him not to marry that lady. Why? Because she has seen it. That is how the woman says that is how the lady's family, that's how they are. They are spendthrifts. They are shopaholics. And the guy cannot deal. So he advised the guy vehemently to stop the relationship. It was a difficult call, but the guy did it anyways, and the lady was devastated. Later on, said that the guy told her that this is why I called off the wedding. My mother says that we have to start for me to say why. Perhaps the man could have coped or not, I don't know. But of course, it can be a problem if indeed she was it would have caused a problem, because at some point where we have to keep money for important things, you would want to use it on other frivolous things. So what do? You sit down and have a talk. And then there's this one or other situation where the guy literally talked to the lady about her behavior being unpaid. The girl didn't listen. And the guy is contemplating leaving her because she's not listening. Oba Bema, when you are fortunate, that's a background issues. Yeah, your spouse vents. Listen, and work on it. At least try to work on it. So Moasia said this is what they've been used to for a long time. Marrying you will not change it so drastically. So understand them from where they are coming from. Understand them from their struggle points. And try to adjust yourself to meet. And so there'll be always friction in your home. And if you're not careful, if you get to them, to the point where they cannot take it, or they be good, they will just leave.